The Chiefs got a total team victory in the snow, no less, against the Indianapolis Colts and got themselves into the AFC Championship. We're going to talk about that game in the film room coming at you right now. Welcome, everybody. The Chiefs managed to pull off what a lot of talking heads thought they couldn't and rattle the Indianapolis Colts at home in Arrowhead in a blizzard of all things and looked good doing it. Proved a lot of people wrong, and it's a great victory for them. I'm Ryan, and this is Going Rogue. If you are new to the channel, check it out and see what you think. Been a lot of folks around here, and I really appreciate everybody checking us out. This season just keeps getting longer as the Chiefs keep pulling out victories, and there's a lot to talk about. We're going to start on the offense, and we're going to go on from there. This episode and all of our postseason coverage is brought to you by Insurance Incorporated, our newest sponsor. They are a local company serving Kansas and Missouri out of Shawnee, and they've been in business 40 years. Experience is something you just can't buy. They're independent, and that means they work with a host of companies to give you renters, life, business, and auto insurance. If you need something like that, check them out, as well as their partner, Auto Owners Insurance. You can find the links in the show notes. Check them out today and get your own quote. Normally, when a team goes into the snow, you think, hey, it's going to be harder to throw the ball. Well, evidently not for Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes put in another solid performance and, most importantly, got off on the right foot right away. Not only did he not throw a turnover, but kept it on pace, kept it on target. He had some errant throws, definitely could have gotten a couple more points out of that. A couple to Tyreek Hill in particular, but played a very solid game in inclement weather, in terrible temperatures for a guy that used to play in Texas. That's a tall order. So you have to feel good about where he is. A couple of struggles weeks ago, and he's really been ticking up since then. I think he's really going to be looking forward to this face-off with Tom Brady after he defeats a team led by Andrew Luck. That's a big accomplishment. But he didn't do it alone. He got solid performances from Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce quite a bit, and really have to give a shout out to Sammy Watkins. After being hurt for quite a while, came out heavily taped in some combat boots, it looked like, and ran his butt off. He looked quick, he looked agile, he was able to accelerate when he needed to, and even set up himself on that first early catch that we'll look at here, set himself up to be in a position to slow his progress, let some blockers line up, and then take advantage of that. A very mature look at a guy that is really the icing on the cake in terms of weaponry for this offense that's going to face the New England Patriots coming up here. Another guy on the offense, and I didn't think I'd be able to say this, but Damien Willams has now taken over the role and actually exceeded what we had expectations for Kareem Hunt. On the season, definitely a much smaller sample size, give you that. But he is producing better on the ground than Kareem Hunt did in the same year in 2018. Now, that's a lot to be said. Not the same kind of runner, very much so more of a slasher, more acceleration. He's quicker to the edge. I think that's very important. You're seeing that play out on the field. Doesn't have the balance contact, doesn't run through tackles and make missed tackles as much as Kareem Hunt did. But for what was going to be a Pro Bowl running back to be taken off of this team right in the middle of the season, to have Damien step up and become the back that he has in this offense is incredible. So give some credit to him. Give credit to Andy Reid for using him in a way that allows him to exploit his natural abilities and help this offense. Reid did a couple of other good things too, and we're going to look at some of the plays as we go through, and credit to him for using both Darrel Williams and Anthony Sherman in an actual running play. And this is something that I think is weather-related. As the weather gets colder and it looks like it's going to be another nasty day at Arrowhead next time. Not to be outdone, Darrel Williams also contributed well, running real hard, usually between the tackles, although I thought that his touchdown run was great. I got a little extra help even from a player to be named QB, but it showed that they have the ability to come back even with the Spencer Ware out, and another young back that they can continue to build and use between the tackles. I think he's got a little bit farther to go, obviously, than Damien does, but he's a kid that I think has seen so much just in the last 6 weeks that this playoff experience is going to pay dividends come next season. I like the way he runs. He catches the ball well, and he runs hard. I love that when they got in a fourth down situation, they actually brought in Reid as a extra linemen, and lined up an I formation with Sherman in there. You all know how I feel about the fullback and that it's underutilized still, but this was a good way to show exactly what it can do. And as the play went off, it actually sprung for a lot more than it should have. But it goes to show that when you line up and you run power on power, that you can get things done that you have to get done. We're going to hear a lot about whether LDT is able to participate or not. We'll get to that. But could be very, very critical in being able to run for some power, to really dictate some physicality to the Patriots, as they did against the Colts. The Colts didn't have a whole lot of edge presence in terms of the pass rush, but they generally hold up well against the run, but that just wasn't the case against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. A lot of good production on the ground, and Andy Reid stuck to it. 25 carries for Damien Willams. That's incredible. You don't see that, and you haven't seen that out of Kareem Hunt in quite a while. And that's another dedication, maybe situationally, to the run. And it brought them balance. And I'll say this, there's a lot of people out there that feel that I'm wrong and the passing is all that's important. But you look at this playoff game, in the snow, to advance to the top 4 in this league, every touchdown the Chiefs got was scored on the ground. There were no passing touchdowns, and that's significant. For everyone who feels like it's a passing league, which it is, it's a pass-first league is what I'll say. But the run is still important because it can get things done, it can be physical, it can wear down a team. I think the Chiefs showed you that, and I'm looking forward for more of the same coming next week. Before I start talking about the defense, because I really, really want to, I just want to mention that the RGR Gear Store is up. It's in the links and in the cards. You can get your coffee mugs and sweatshirts and all that stuff that we've been talking about this season. It's brand new and it's working really well, so check it out, see if there's anything that you'd like. Also, thank you to all of the subscribers here. If you're not one and you're new, give it a shot. If you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe, get the notification, and give me that thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Would like to get your comments as well. On the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot to say, particularly that pass rush. And we're going to talk about that, maybe even an extra video. I'll see how much video I can get done this week. I am traveling this week. I'll be down in New Orleans the day of that championship game. So we'll see how much I can get for you. But the pass rush, again, like I talked about last week in the game plan, was because it was so even. Because they could get Chris Jones as well as both edges. And when you can't double effectively, it changes your whole threat of trying to get those 3 guys in particular, but also a couple others protected against. Jones had a great battle, and you saw him get to the point where he could stand up Quentin Nelson, who has had a phenomenal rookie season as a guard and was a real formidable threat. But when you play with pad level low, you can get underneath guys. He stood him up, and a lot of those deflected passes, Chris had 3 of them in that game, came off of getting better leverage. So give him credit. While he didn't get home, he did affect the passer, and despite what Booger McFarland might say, I think that's just as good by affecting what the passes can do. Those are PBUs in my book, and they stop completions. That's what he's supposed to do. So credit to Chris Jones. I thought both Houston and Ford rushed well, rushed with some variation. I think they all looked very fired up. And I want to take a second to say that I think the bigger question, the bigger thing that affected this team on both sides of the ball, while Patrick Mahomes is definitely a leader, was the leadership of Justin Houston. He's done it for a few weeks now. He's been very vocal, which is a little bit odd for him, not a big vocal guy, with some of the younger players about being prepared, about staying prepared. This season can come down to just a few weeks, and if you stay dedicated, that you can get things like this done. It's coupled with the fact that Sutton ran a more aggressive defense, but the leadership of Justin Houston cannot be replaced, and I think it was very critical, and you saw it all across the board, all 3 phases of this game. So credit to him. Now back to talking about Bob. Bob has been put in a position. I don't think that he planned this. I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt that he was laying in the weeds, keeping his defense soft the whole season just to pop back up and have new wrinkles. I don't think that's it. I think he's in a desperate situation. I think he understands that this is coming to the end eventually, whether it's a retirement or whatever happens, that all the stops have to be pulled out because they have to make this Super Bowl. This is too good a run to allow the defense to be soft, and he's played conservatively. He's played honestly, stubbornly with his play call all season long. Now he finally opened it up a little bit. I think that's from prodding from Andy Reid. I could be wrong, but that's my take on it. And what you saw in that mean is not only was the pass rush varied, they ran some other things that were very important, and a lot of it revolved around Anthony Hitchens. Hitchens has had a rough go this season for a guy that was purported to come in and be a leader and an explosive player that could change the fortunes of this defense. It's been yet to be seen. And in this particular matchup, knowing how much they wanted to throw the ball, and they went with Hitchens as the primary linebacker on the field. Darrel Daniel was out, so I think that might have changed things. And Hitchens played nearly the entire game, a lot more than Reggie Ragland. And that's because he can play coverage, but they also used him for the blitz, and they ran a couple of different variations. I think that's important because it lets you have an obvious fifth rusher right there on the field that you don't have to try to disguise. You don't have to confuse things. You can keep it simpler in the secondary by not trying to send safety blitzes and corner blitzes, which is something Bob's done in the past. Now, against the Patriots, I think you have to vary that more. But this particular game, I think that worked very well in using that second-level defender as the extra guy that Bob could send. And I think the biggest surprise to me was a guy that was on another playoff team earlier this season. He started out with the Cowboys. They let him go. I think it was last cutdowns when he was released. Charvarius Ward has stepped up. And I think, again, that's prodding from Andy Reid that he was pushing to get some of the younger players onto the field, specifically Ward and Lucas. And I think what you saw is that those playtime snaps are coming into account, and they're letting him progress in this system. I thought he played tighter coverage. I thought he played with his hands on more. Still not as much jamming as I'd like, especially right at the snap. That instant change of the route and reroute. But he did play with contact more. Kept him in the pocket, and he came up with some plays. I think that's a really good sign for what's going to happen next week. So we'll take a look at a couple of those. Ward's down here at the bottom of the screen. He's going to play his zone, get some nice contact, give a little disruptive push, and settle down. He's going to come off to play this tight end, get his hand and knock the ball out. You're going to see that again. On the next play, he's up at the top of the screen. He's going to mirror very well. Stays in phase, not a lot of contact till late in the route, and then mans up on him and again, gets his hand. And lastly, Jordan Lucas got on the field and played solidly. You see him move around a little bit more. I feel like the defense was simplified a bit because you didn't see any of those confusions like we saw in weeks prior, and I showed you some of those. And I think that's key because going forward, you have to be able to execute your assignment, no matter what it is. And if it's less confusing in the play call and to what you're supposed to do, I think that helps this younger defense, specifically these last two players. So let me know what you think. If you're new around here, hit the subscription, hit that thumbs up if you like what we're doing. And I want to know what you think in the comments section. So right now for today, I'm going to have the game plan later in the week, trying to get all that done before I start traveling. Going to be a frozen game at Arrowhead, so be prepared for that. And I'll have more in the game plan video coming up here in a couple days. Thanks for all of your time watching, and I'll talk to you then.